But I think the important thing is just educating buyers because they become so fixated on the house that they often forget about what they're buying into.
Right.
And I would say almost more important because I've had a lot of people we've helped move from their current location because they hated the area.
Yep.
Right. And they give you a list of things they don't want that they currently have.
It's actually a good point with first-time home buyers.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 364 of the Real Estate Podcast. Today, Ariel and I are talking to buyers and sellers about how to figure out not only what house you should buy, but what you're buying into. What's the neighborhood like? What are you going to experience? What's life going to be like there as a buyer? And how can you convey that to a prospective buyer as a seller? Enjoy.
Welcome to the Real Estate Podcast, your go-to source for raw, unfiltered stories and expert tips. Whether you're a buyer, seller, tenant, landlord, or realtor, join us as we dive into the world of real estate.
Right over.
Join us in the wonderful world of real estate.
Yeah, I was just going to say maybe it'd be good to introduce people. Like maybe someone's listening that's new to the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole intro which kind of talks about what we do, but not really. It's more for style and pizzazz.
If you're on the YouTube, you'll see our names. But yes, go ahead, introduce yourself to the world.
Yeah, so I don't know if you're a first-time listener. The Real Estate Podcast has evolved over the years. It was originally KT Confidential, and Ariel and I are neighbors, friends, and business partners.
You do realize we did this last episode.
Yeah, but if somebody's listening to this episode for the first time, then
just
they didn't
go back and listen to the last
episode. And we did not do it last time.
Oh, I'm pretty sure we did.
Nevertheless, I'll keep this sweet and short. We've known each other for, 20 years or so. Worked
20
together.
years this month?
Worked together that entire time. Lived close to each other or immediately next door to each other. We started a real estate company in 2012.
Adrian's really good with memory.
And we started a property management company a handful of years ago. I keep it vague because I'm
6.
horrible with numbers. And the podcast, all we talk about is information that landlords, home buyers, home sellers, investors want to hear about, and that will help them on their real estate journey. So maybe, Ariel, you want to introduce today's topic.
Yeah. So today we're talking about neighborhoods, and I don't know how deep we're going to get into it. This could be a conversation that spills off into next week's podcast too, but I think for us it's timely. We've launched some great videos on our website and our Instagram. There's more coming, and so if you go to our link tree, you'll see there's some links to specific neighborhoods in Milton, which is where our team office is and where we reside. And we've been getting a lot of inquiries about specific neighborhoods or what to look for in specific neighborhoods. And it's certainly apparent that when sellers are also looking to hire a realtor or thinking about their next move, that they are looking for realtors that know a lot about the neighborhoods that they're either selling in or looking to buy in. It's an important part of the real estate journey, I would say. So that's what we're discussing today. Before we get into that, we're into November now.
Yes.
Anything new and exciting going on in your world?
Not really. Looking forward to snowboarding. So there's that.
You didn't really snowboard much last year, did you?
Yeah, I go out at least once a week. I'd go in the morning, at a minimum once a week in the morning for an hour or two before coming into the office. The hill opens at 8:30. They used to open at 8, but now it's 8:30.
So speaking of neighborhoods, so you go to Glen Eden, which is at Kelso.
Yeah, Glen Eden's just a tiny little hill, but it's nice in the morning because there's nobody there. So you basically ski on and off the lift or snowboard.
What time would that be?
8:30. You got to get there like from 8:30 until...
So like school drop-off time.
Yeah, from 8:30 till about 10 o'clock, it's really quiet.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they have like a women's group and, different groups of people coming. Sometimes schools show up. So you got to go first thing in the morning.
Now, did you take lessons?
I think maybe I took one lesson at Glen Eden when I was a teenager.
Okay.
But then it was just
self-learning?
Self-learning, yeah. And I mean, at that age, you're kind of fearless and resilient, right?
Yeah. Less susceptible to injury.
Yeah, it's not an easy sport to pick up. You will definitely fall a lot. So I can see people our age, 40s and up, that you start to get a little hesitant with sports like that because you don't want to injure yourself and take.
Oh man, I'm dealing with this rotator cuff issue just from golfing, right? So
yeah, well, stuff like that can last forever. But yeah, so there's that. We're looking forward to it. And it's 10 minutes from our house. So that was, talking about neighborhoods. We didn't think about that so much when we moved there, but now it is something that keeps me there.
One of my favorite things about being in this area is how close we are to all of the conservation areas. And I don't think enough people take full advantage of the beauty and all of the activities that there are within these conservation areas, right?
Well, actually, that's a good point. I don't think we're even doing enough to convey that value. Now, people may be moving within the town already know, but newcomers, people that are moving to Milton.
Which is a huge percentage of the population.
Yeah. Yeah. I think having, buyers should be aware of what amenities and conveniences they'll have around them, but real estate agents should do a better job at conveying, like, not just selling the house, but sell that street or sell that neighborhood or sell the town. Because there are a lot of people that are like, oh, maybe I'll do Burlington or maybe I'll do Milton or maybe I'll do Acton or I'll do Burlington or maybe Brampton or Milton, whatever. So if you can do a better job at selling the location, you might help somebody really hone in on an area.
Well, and there is a difference between saying this property is close to conservation areas versus really digging in. Like, what does that mean? Right?
Yeah.
I know a ton of people that end up buying in Milton and know about the concert, like it's close. Oh yeah, it's close to conservation areas, close to the farms and this and that. But when you actually dig in.
Can you convey the feeling of walking through the forest to somebody?
Right. Or hanging out on the beach at Kelso and renting a paddle boat to just, putt around the lake on a beautiful Sunday afternoon or whatever.
Yeah.
Or to walk through the to go to Hilton Falls and make some hot dogs over the open fire that they have going there. Things like that are a big part of what you should look for in buying and selling.
Yeah. Well, I think that's
real estate.
For me, that's the important part of the conversation. And we can talk about specific neighborhoods too, but I think the important thing is just educating buyers because they become so fixated on the house that they often forget about what they're buying into.
Right.
Right. And that is, I would say, almost more important because I've had a lot of people we've helped move from their current location because they hated the area.
Yep.
Right. And they give you a list of things they don't want that they currently have.
It's actually a good point with first-time home buyers.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of first-time buyers that are buying in the burbs, like if you're buying in downtown Toronto, it might be different, right? You need to be close to a subway or you want to be close to...
But even there, I would say it's different, but it's even more on like a micro scale.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
As long as I'm downtown or whatever. But for what I see, when first-time home buyers are looking to make a move to our trade area, like Halton and Peel region specifically, a lot of it is driven by the house itself and specifically the condition and the upgrades and, the finishes of the property.
Yeah, all the cosmetic stuff.
Right. And they're not necessarily taking into consideration all of the other things that you come to enjoy about owning a home or living in a community until a little bit later on in your tenure of being, a part of that community.
Yeah, well, it's probably not until like after they've move-in day comes around, the buyers move in. A few days go by, they've been unpacking, they start to get settled, making dinner, and they're like, let's go for a walk and check out the neighborhood.
Yeah.
First time they do their neighborhood walk is like,
let's go for a walk and get some ice cream.
Yeah, 2-3 weeks after they've moved in.
Yeah,
and then they come to find, half our neighbors are parking on their lawn, and the swings at the local park are hanging by one chain, and it's not as nice as they expected,
right.
Or maybe it's nicer, and maybe they could have been perceived more value in moving into that house.
Splash pad is a big pothole.
Yeah, maybe there's a bunch of crackheads at the park or something. So yeah,
that's actually a good tip.
Walk the neighborhood
for anybody that's going to be moving before settling on that specific property. I have mentioned this before in the podcast, probably several years ago now. I helped one of my really good friends move from Milton to Guelph. And at the time, him and his wife were working in Oakville. So to commute from Milton to Oakville is pretty easy. And they knew for her, it was a 15-minute drive, for him about a 25-minute drive to where he worked in Oakville. And it was, like I said, a pretty easy drive. But for value reasons, what they could get for the price that they were comfortable in spending, Guelph was a very viable option for them, especially knowing that they want to settle down, have a family. There's a few really great pockets for that in Guelph, and they really liked one of the neighborhoods, and they really liked one of the properties. And the first thing I said to them was, I want you to go, before we put an offer in, I want you to go drive around the neighborhood. And I also want you to go in the morning and plan to drive to work at the time that you would be driving to work and make that commute. So they did. They went, I don't know what time it was, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then made the commute to work from there. And it just gave them that insight, right? And then when they were driving around, they noticed, the park is right there. There's the pizza shop that we can walk to, whatever, right? So I think that is a really important consideration and can give you some insights, because when you're driving around, you will see people walking around. Who's living in the neighborhood? Are there any children if you have children? Where are the amenities? Where are the schools? Drive to the school. Is it walkable? Right? Don't just rely on Google Maps. Get out there, and if you're making that investment, on average, you're spending $1 million. Go out and make sure that you're going to be comfortable, especially if you are buying in this market right now where, I guess if you think about it, you're not buying for profit right now, right?
No, you're buying
for a long-term investment. Yeah. So if you're buying for a long-term investment, knowing that the market is really flat at the moment, to sell in a year or two is going to be a losing proposition. Chances are, right? By the time you pay land transfer tax, your realtor fees, all of those things, you're not going to want to move in the first couple of years, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And most people stay in their home for a minimum 5 to 7 years. That's kind of the bandwidth for most people.
Certainly first-time home buyers.
Certainly first-time home buyers. So longer-term investment, make sure it's a good investment. Drive the neighborhood.
Well, even
Talk
something
to the
is,
neighbors.
if you know you're moving to, like Milton's still relatively small, being on the west end versus the east end of Milton, if you are commuting to Toronto, up until they get the Tremaine interchange completed, that if you're on the west end, that could add 10 to 15 minutes to your commute one way. So, you're talking an extra half an hour potentially of driving just because you choose to be on the west end of town versus the east end.
Yeah.
So I know some people are thoughtful and aware of those considerations, but not everybody.
Well, and then small things like amenities. So a lot of the newer developments don't have amenities as rich as some of the more mature neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
So how important is that to you? If your child needs daycare, if you do Walmart runs on a, very regular basis, I can tell you, if you're in, some of the newer neighborhoods, like in the Ford neighborhood, the Boyne area, whatever, and you want to go to Walmart, it's a 20-minute drive at least.
Well, a lot of those people are going to Appleby and Dundas and Burlington.
Yeah.
And going to Fortino's or Walmart there, or doing a lot of their shopping there.
Yeah.
So they even leave town.
That's another point too, is like if you think about restaurants, because I talk about this all the time. I'm a foodie. I've got a bunch of clients that we get together on a yearly basis because we like to eat, and we'll, instead of, making any kind of other plan, we'll say, hey, do you want to go and grab some Chinese food or whatever? The food options, specifically restaurants and takeout and all that, vary very differently between neighborhoods and between different towns and cities, and the availability and accessibility between them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Burlington has a bunch of fresh options, like a lot of vegan places and salad places and a lot of newer things up and coming. And Milton does too, but on a much smaller scale.
Well, I think that naturally comes with growth.
Right.
Because
but
we've
you
come
have
a
to
long
expect
way.
that.
Yeah.
Same thing like you mentioned Acton. Like Sherry lives in Acton.
Right.
If you want to go out for a fancy meal, you got to drive to another location. There really isn't anywhere.
Yeah, you end up in Milton or Georgetown or
right.
Yeah.
So if you go out on a weekly basis for a nice meal and you like to treat yourself, you might want to think about those kind of things.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't know. I think the best way that somebody who's buying would literally just be to walk around the neighborhood. And I think more agents should make a habit of that when you find somebody who says, oh, yeah, you know what? This house is actually quite nice. So maybe make a second visit and schedule more time where you go back, revisit the house, but then literally just walk around, go to the parks, see what's happening, meet some neighbors, ask them how they, what's your favorite thing about living in Wilmot, or what's your favorite thing about living in Timberley, and get some insight from people who have had the opportunity to explore.
Yeah. And here's a pro tip for our realtor friends. When I take a buyer out for the first time, and we're in an area that they are not familiar with, I purposely will schedule some time in between showings to do that tour with them. First time out, I often like to have the clients in my car.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me a little bit more control in timing. And let's say we'll go and see 4 or 5 homes, which really should be the max for when you're going out. If you see more than 4 or 5, you start to forget what you've seen in the day.
Yeah.
And it can be very tiring. But you go and see a couple, 2 or 3. I can remember I did that with Jen and Gavin when I helped them buy their current home because they were considering Georgetown.
And for those who don't know, Jen is our client care manager.
Yes. And I've known her for 25 years. And her husband almost equally as long, because we all worked together in our previous lives. Anyways, so I helped them buy their current home and their previous home. And when they were looking to upgrade from their previous home, we were looking at different options, and one of them was to look at Georgetown. And they weren't overly familiar really with Georgetown, but what they knew was from a driving distance that they would consider it because of the driving distance. But not being familiar, I wanted to familiarize them with it. So we saw a couple properties, and then we took what I call kind of like a pee break. And that pee break was, 45 minutes.
Why do you call it a pee break? Why don't you just call it like a coffee break?
Sure. Call it whatever you want, okay? We took a break for 45 minutes or so. And I parked downtown because they'd never been to downtown Georgetown. Not that it's overly big or anything, but it's quaint nice, and it's got a lot of nice shops. I love going to the cheese shop there. And we got an ice cream, and we just walked around. And it was a nice way to introduce them to the neighborhood. And when we were driving to the next properties, I purposely drove around in some of the areas to point out, here's the park, and here's certain things that you might appreciate. And that was an important part of the process in kind of familiarizing them with the area. Mm. And I think you need to do that on like that micro scale where you do it specifically for the neighborhood to your point, if you're zoning in on a house, make a habit of knowing what's there. And if you have kids, there's a whole lot more to consider. Mm-hmm. Bus routes, walkability, looking into the school and what is there certain activities or programs that you want your kids to be involved, like music or art? Is it, does the school have its own little community, right? Is there a school council? Do they do barbecues and have those events for the kids?
Well, that's one thing I've come to learn too is very different from one public school even to another public school. I always assumed everything would be very consistent, but if you look at, so our kids go to N.J. MacArthur and they do a lot of field trips, and they do like the spring fling thing where they have a barbecue and a bunch of inflatables, and they do fundraising and things like that. And it's quite involved. But if you go across the street to Boyne Public School, which is in the Ford neighborhood, they don't do anything. So my niece, or not my niece, she's too young, but my nephews go there, and they don't do field trips. They don't do special events. So that can differ dramatically too from one school to another. And I think that has a lot to do with, they seem to think it has to do with demographics in that neighborhood. They think that there's maybe just lower income perhaps. So I think it's also that perhaps, but more so like how active, like is there a, not student council, but parent council committee of some sort that handles coordinating all this.
Yeah.
And if not, can you get involved in it? Start it maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. And then do you have elder parents that might be moving in with you? Is that a consideration? Mm-hmm. Because I think that's going to be happening more and more, mm-hmm. where there's multi-generational living, especially if there's money being transferred, right? So
like we'll give you early inheritance if we can buy a house together by multi-generational.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's smart. I think that should be happening. Mm. But if that does happen and you got your 70-year-old parents living in your basement, they're retired, maybe they want to walk a lot, right? Like those type of mm-hmm. people, they want to get out and they want to walk. So like in our neighborhood, and again, you mentioned the Wilmot community, Sunnymount Park has lots of areas that you can go and have a beautiful walk. And they even have the community gardens where you can have your plot and go and do your vegetable gardening, plant whatever you want. Well, to a certain extent, I suppose.
They have any pot plants going up there. I don't know how you get involved
Granny,
in that.
Can I get some of that cannabis? Yeah.
That's
but
funny.
things like that are definitely to be considered, because in the Boyne neighborhood, you brought up Boyne, or Ford.
Ford, yeah.
There isn't much to walk to in terms of that type of thing. There's some parks, but really for kicking around a ball or...
Yeah, like some neighborhoods are built around, like Wilmot was built around the old rural farm.
Yeah.
So you have that, a lot of character to it. And then you have the community park, of course. So not all neighborhoods have that character or convenience. So if that's something that's important to you, then that would definitely be something to consider.
Or like Jennifer, when she was living in the Dempsey neighborhood, her grandma who lived with them used to walk over to Longo's to do her shopping. Mm-hmm. Right? So you got to take those things into consideration.
Well, I think a lot of people, again, because we live there, but there's 2 dog parks in Milton. One is in Clark and one is in Wilmot. And I think a lot of people maybe don't even realize it until after they buy into the community and start exploring.
Yeah.
And maybe they look it up on a map and see it, but they actually walk up there and realize how kind of picturesque it is with, clear views of the escarpment. And those are things you really should appreciate by going to visit it in person.
And all of those things should be taken into consideration. 100%. Or if you're a golfer, I'll give you an example. I love crosswinds. It's my favorite course to play because literally it's a 6-7 minute drive up Derry, and within 10 minutes from door to door, I can be at the golf course. Mm-hmm. Right? If I was on the east end of town, that would be almost a half an hour drive.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes when I'm playing, I'm leaving during rush hour.
Yeah, it's like me with snowboarding.
Right. So if I just hop on to Derry, because we're at Brawny and Derry, if I make a left from Brawny onto Derry Road, I'm out of town by the time I hit Tremaine, right? You hit Tremaine and you're out of town. So that's a 4-minute drive to Tremaine. And then from there, within 5-6 minutes, you're at the course. Mm-hmm. So I love that because it eliminates the downtime, the drive. It's just a nice, short, quick drive. I have a coffee on the way by the time I get there, Same thing with the farms. Love going to all the local farms.
Yeah, we were at Chudley's apple picking this year.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, we go to Spring Ridge all the time.
I think because we talked about this trailing off into next week maybe, but I think it would become a very repetitive podcast. So I think maybe it would be important to touch on just briefly, if people are selling their homes, what they or their real estate agents should consider, what they can do to help build value in their particular neighborhood, to maybe that little thing could be the difference of why somebody chooses the other house over theirs or theirs over the other house. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What would you recommend?
Well, the first thing I would recommend is making sure that your representatives, whoever's representing your property, your realtor, the people doing the open houses, if it's not your realtor, the overall marketing plan, that these people that you are hiring to help you actually know what's going on in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Like they got to be in the know. And if they don't buy and sell in the neighborhood on a regular basis, that's fine as long as they put the effort in to know.
Yeah.
Like if they are not driving the neighborhoods and visiting all the local attractions and amenities and all of that to educate themselves, then how are they going to educate any prospective buyers and their realtors?
That's right.
Because what happens, especially in the suburbs, And I see this on a regular basis, and you've seen this on a regular basis. It happens all the time in Milton. It happens very often in Burlington. Mississauga and Oakville, hit or miss, but what happens is buyers are moving into these communities and they are choosing to have representatives that don't specialize in these communities, right? So you're buying a home in Milton, you're buying a home in Burlington, you're moving from Mississauga, from Toronto, from Brampton, and your realtor is from Mississauga, from Toronto, from Brampton. They don't know that there's the ski hill and the beach and the hot dog stations and the kayak rentals and all that at Kelso. Mm-hmm. They don't know that Crosswinds is an 8-minute drive from the Harrison neighborhood. They don't know, so they don't know the intimate details. So I think that's an important part of it, is just making sure that the representatives are knowledgeable on what makes your location valuable.
Yeah.
And when I say valuable, value is different to different people in different ways.
Well, you never know what somebody's going to get excited about or what.
Right.
Yeah.
If you have 2 dogs and your dogs are your most important things in your lives, and the dog park is a 2-minute walk from your house, you will value that at a considerably higher value than somebody that has no dogs and has no interest in having any dogs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if in the marketing of this property, nobody knows that the dog park is a 2-minute walk away, how do you convey that value?
Right. So the point of this would be you need to have you have 2 options, in person and online. Yeah. Really. So you need to, I would say it's important to have both covered. So in-home could be included in your brochure. If you have a printed brochure, you could just have in-home signage. That's not hard to do. Just print up something with a basic summary of what's nearby.
Yeah.
Try to paint the picture of what it's like to live there.
Yep.
And then online, same thing. I mean, we just recently released our neighborhood pages and they're quite detailed. And we have a lot of our favorite retailers and amenities nearby. So you can at a glance see what's close by that you could enjoy using. But yeah, I think more sellers should do that, because that is a really big part of trying to convey value and convince somebody to choose your house when there are so many options.
I think it's also important as a realtor that you ask the sellers. Mm-hmm. And that's actually one of the questions on our seller's checklist that we provide to our sellers. What do you like most about your home? And asking them, what are your favorite things in the neighborhood? Mm-hmm. Like if I was to ask you, what do you love most about living in the Wilmot neighborhood? You're going to bang out a few things, right? Like, I can walk to Sunnymount Park. I can walk over to Sobeys if I need something. Sometimes we go to Baskin Robbins and get ice cream. If I want a bottle of red wine, I just hop in the car and on
it's
a Friday. Yeah, it's super convenient, right?
Yeah.
But when we moved in there was nothing.
No.
There was nothing.
Yeah.
We knew there was going to be things coming, but there was nothing.
Yeah.
Dirt and dust for first 5 years.
Yeah. I got nothing else. I mean, that sums it up, though, is I think people really need to put more effort into knowing what they're buying into, not just what they're buying.
We should put that quote on the wall.
Okay.
Take that. All right. Well, nice chatting with you.
Likewise.
And we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching or listening to episode 364 of the Real Estate Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, show some love and hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss the upcoming episode.